What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the It Doesn't Matter podcast. I'm your host. I'm the notorious one. I am Dom. I'm here with the Pegasus Man. I'm here with Strap Facts. I'm here with my man all the way down in Delaware. I'm here with Cripple BDC. And my man all the way over here on the other screen, the Dominican Dream, Papi Platino. What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on, baby? What we're gonna talk about tonight?
We're going to talk about a crippler. We're going to talk about a Wolverine. We're going to talk about the Pegasus Kid. We're going to talk about one of my guys growing up as a kid, Chris Benoit. Been waiting almost 3 years since we started this show right here, and we're finally going to discuss all things Chris Benoit. We're going to talk about the good. Unfortunately, the bad's going to come up, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter, and we're going to get right into it.
Yep.
So, my man Strap, going by the name the Pegasus Man, what was your first memory of Chris Benoit?
He was, WCW Nitro at the time was full of tremendous workers and talents, and even if you didn't really know what good pro wrestling was as a kid, you could just sense there was something different about this guy, and especially because he was in the Four Horsemen stable. I mean, he was one of the young stallions, as it was with Brian Pillman and the standards, Arn Anderson and Ric Flair. So he was just one of those guys. He wrestled very good, very well. He was a quiet, strong type, and he was just that guy. And just to throw this out there, I remember during a Clash of Champions, August '96. Chris Benoit, he wrestled the Giant. The Giant is the Dungeon of Doom, and the Four Horsemen had a perennial feud all year long in WCW at the time. Chris Benoit and the Giant. And then years later, of course, Chris Benoit wins the Royal Rumble by eliminating who? That same guy who squashed him at the Clash of Champions, the Big Show, Paul White. Just amazing where careers can go from being squashed in seconds on a free live event on free cable television to winning a major title at the Royal Rumble for Chris Benoit. So a lot of memories that first year in 1996 with Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
All right. Crippled BDC, what about you? What's your first memory of the Rabbit Wolverine, Chris Benoit?
Well, I mean, first memory is going to be WCW. He just kind of came in and was taking care of business in the ring. And one of the first things you notice about him pretty quickly is that he's technically gifted. I mean, of course, anybody who looked at him from the onset, and I'm guilty of it, the first thing I noticed was like, okay, this dude's arms is really short. But when you saw him in the ring, it was like he was just so damn fluid in the ring. It was like anything that made him look a little off, his ability just basically wiped it all out. I don't remember a whole lot of as far as feuds in WCW. Not gonna lie about that either. I will say that I'm more ingrained on his WWE run, and I think that's mainly because they did make it a point of really pushing him along with Malenko and Guerrero and Saturn when the Radicals came to WWE. They really put them out there, and then you can kind of see Eddie and you can see Benoit kind of separating themselves from the group. Even though they were still a group, you could see them kind of showing themselves, oh, these guys are going to be the stars. These guys are going to be the Shawn Michaels, and where Saturn and Malenko were going to be the Marty Jannettis. He's just technically gifted. And I think that for the most part, like I said, seeing him wrestle in WCW, yeah. Seeing him do some time in ECW as well. But then WWE is where he really, for me at least, where he really kind of stuck in my head.
All right. Platino, what about you, buddy?
My memory is a little iffy with him. I think it was 97, 98. My first real memories of him. I want to say it was right around, I think his best of 7 with was it Booker T? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, that
Booker
was in
T.
WWE, right?
No, I think he had one in WCW as well for the U.S. title. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
Chris Benoit and Booker T had a best of 7 series for the TV title, I believe.
TV title.
And
That's what it was.
TV title.
they brought that to SmackDown with John Cena and Booker T in a less than stellar revival of that. So
Yeah. Those were my memories of them. I really wasn't watching WCW that much. I mean, I know they had the NWO going in '96 when Hogan dropped that leg drop, but I mean, other than Rey Mysterio and Eddie, I really wasn't paying attention to the cruiserweights after that. And Benoit wasn't really featured as a cruiserweight by then. He was already kind of like in that mid card. So once that part of the show was over, I pretty much changed the channel and went to Raw. But I do remember him versus Booker, and Booker was always those guys that I would just sit there and watch and be like, okay, what can I get from this? And Benoit impressed me a lot, like you said, BDC. Like at first glance, you're looking at him like, who is this guy? He doesn't look that impressive, but he fought like he was like 6'5", 6'6",
Mm-hmm.
300 pounds, and he was gonna go all out on you. So that rabbit Wolverine, he probably should just been called the Honey Badger because he didn't give no f's to nobody. But the Wolverine sounds so much better.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well, for me, at this time, I was a WCW guy when I first seen him because, always watched Nitro the first hour. Then that second hour, you tune in to Monday Night Raw, and then you go back to watching Nitro after with the replay. But seeing Chris Benoit, 5'10", 5'11", 220 pounds, arms big as hell, I'm like, I want to be that. And eventually I got to that level, but I didn't look just like that because I didn't take some some juice. I took the wrong juice, but not the juice that he took. But yeah, like he had a great physique to him for his stature right there, and just the intensity he brought in every single match. I just loved it, and just like how in the video games, I always talk about Roderick Strong with John, but not Chris Benoit. He was my go-to guy in the beginning because he was just nasty in the WCW games, and I just enjoyed it. But BDC,
Yep.
what do you think made Chris Benoit stand out as a wrestler?
At a time when big power guys were in, Chris Benoit was a little power guy. He'd get in the ring with guys that were inches up to a foot taller than him, and maybe had him by about 75 to 100 pounds, and he was suplexing them all over the place like it was no big thing. I mean, you have guys that when they're smaller, they use their quickness or what have you. They're trying to kind of hit and run, and they're trying to get them off their feet, things like that. Benoit didn't have to do any of that. Benoit can go at you power for power, which for his size was crazy. I think because he in the early going he wasn't a talker. He wasn't really talking. He was just putting it in. He was doing it all in the ring. But as I said, it was just for a guy his size, for the athleticism he had. It was the power that stood out because it was like he can go at anybody power for power and match up relatively well against pretty much anybody.
Do you guys agree with BDC?
His his ability to make anybody kind of work to his level, even though his stature was smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. He brought an intensity that a lot of guys couldn't bring, and I love Brett myself, but Brett wasn't doing what Chris Benoit was doing. It was a different kind of battle.
What about you, Strap? What do you think?
Vroom. There's, it's ironic, that, John Cena called him out on it during one of his battle raps early on in SmackDown. Chris Benoit, you just a dynamite ripoff. And that's how I would describe Chris Benoit. Because if you ever watched Dynamite Kid matches, you're like, geez, he is a copy of the Dynamite Kid. But also his style is that he was a smaller guy, but he was a stick of dynamite, man. He had a lot of explosive energy in that, compact little machine. So, but his style was, in a word, was just pure intensity. Like he was the most intense. I mean, I think anything that's good can be bad, and anything bad can be good. But yes, he was one of the most intense individuals in all of professional wrestling history. So intense would be the word.
Yeah.
Did he have a match with Mach?
Not like a major feud, but they probably had like a one-off in the early days of the Dungeon of Doom. I mean, the Horsemen during this Nitro era, the '96 era.
I wouldn't even want to watch that.
No, but I'm saying like Mach at that time, and then say like a prime Benoit in 04, 05.
Sure.
Those two guys were probably the most intense wrestlers of all time, and then just knowing how their minds work. Mach is a perfectionist, and so is Chris Benoit. So one little thing, one slip up, they're gonna just look at each other and like, all right, get back and do it again. You screwed up this part. All right, no, you screwed up this part, and it's a match made that we probably never. Maybe it did happen that we didn't catch or we don't remember, but
if it did happen, Benoit would probably be a made guy.
I think it happened.
Because from 92 to like 97, Savage was just selling for everybody, and everybody that he worked with, he basically put over. So it definitely would have stuck out. I would say so.
Savage made a resurgence in 98, 99 with his two women. Was it 2 or 3? Miss Madness and
oh yeah.
What up,
Miss Madness, Elizabeth, and I think Gorgeous George was a part of that
too. Yeah. That was a different match that I never expected him to have, and man, oof. If it wasn't for his troubles with Vince, I would have loved to see him come back in the Invasion for that.
That's why you can't put your dinky in everything.
Like they say,
watch me.
Don't sink your dink in the company ink.
Yeah.
I mean, one of these matches that you never thought would happen, and you only saw glimpses of. A famous one would be like Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan never never fought, but they kind of shared a couple of blows during the very infamous NWO versus The Rock and Stone Cold match before WrestleMania X8.
Yes.
But also on the same token, the only way you could get to touch Hogan at the time was in a multi-person match. And so one of those matches was some incarnation of Ric Flair and Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko versus some version of the NWO. But it was the only time I could think of that Chris Benoit and Hulk Hogan ever touched in the ring. And I always remembered that. That was always something unique to me. It's like Chris Benoit technically wrestled Hulk Hogan in this match. They didn't really do much, but they might have had like one chop and that was it. But it was just like a weird thing.
He probably took that chop and said, "I'm out of here."
Well, guys, it doesn't matter. WCW Nitro podcast about to be season 2, going in 1996. So definitely tune in because February 5th, 1996, Chris Benoit takes on Macho Man Randy Savage on Nitro. So we will be talking about that.
There you go.
In the next upcoming weeks.
I asked for something, and Merry Christmas, baby. I got it.
Hallelujah.
Coming soon.
Santa Claus is coming to town in May.
In May.
All right. Well, Plasma, do you think that Chris Benoit was underrated?
I won't say he was underrated. I feel like he was underappreciated because of his stature, because of how he wasn't, like I said, 6'3". He wasn't the best looking guy. His promos weren't there, but bell to bell, this guy probably was the best at what he does. Maybe not one, but in his prime, in his time too, I think maybe Kurt had him. and that was pushing it.
Kurt
I
Angle.
was Kurt Angle maybe was number 2 at that point.
Imagine this. Imagine if we had a prime Chris Benoit. Hold on, before we even get that, what do you consider Chris Benoit's prime? WWE or WCW?
WWE.
WWE.
Yeah.
So between 99 when he came in as the Radicals until his unfortunate timing murder suicide.
So I'll take that. What was it 2001? Is it 2001, 2003? Because I know he got injured for a year.
I think he was injured 02 going into 03.
So all right, give me like that 2001 Chris Benoit, and give me that late or early 90s Mr. Perfect. Give me a best of 7 with them dudes.
Early 90s?
Early 90s.
Okay.
Before the contract. What year did he fight Brett for the title, the Intercontinental title?
91, I believe.
There you go. 91 perfect.
Yeah, I'll give you one. I'll give you an interesting one. One is probably not even really thought about, but I'm also thinking about it because of size as well. Give me a prime Benoit, and give me a prime Gable.
Benoit would tear him up, bro.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's like a pit bull on a chihuahua, bro. You would tear him up.
I think the problem that Gable has right now is that there isn't anyone that's really as technically sound as he is in the ring, which is becoming more and more evident with this El Grande Americano he's doing right now.
Why you say that?
When has this been revealed that Chad Gable's El Grande Americano?
Shut it.
I don't believe
Shut
it. Look. Clark Kent. Oh,
no.
That better be a clip.
Yeah, you clip that. That needs to be clipped.
Check out the new Superman with a guy I never even heard of.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole nother story. But I think that I think it would be close. I think it would be closer than you think. I think Benoit would win, but I think it wouldn't be the squash out that you're probably all thinking it is right now. Because one of the things is, again, size for size, technique for technique, and power for power, because Gable's got that power too. He wouldn't necessarily need it as much because of Benoit's size, but he's got that power element too.
I think Gable has the leverage power, but pound for pound, Benoit's not gonna. I hate to say it, Chad is a little bit too comical for Benoit match. Well, Benoit, he's done a comic. I mean, maybe.
Well, and the thing of it is that's booking and gimmick. They've always thrown him like even when he was starting out in American Alpha, like there was always a comedic element to his character.
That might be who he is, though.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think the most serious version of him, was probably around the time that he snapped off of Sami Zayn when he couldn't beat him for the title. That was probably the most serious Chad Gable we got, and that dude was dangerous to me anyway.
Chad was facing Gunther. Don't forget that.
But that's why I said that whole area when he was going for the title, the IC title, and that was the most serious we've seen him.
I think they missed the boat on that one.
Oh, they definitely did.
Yeah,
they definitely did.
That momentum was so high, and they never pulled the trigger. I mean, granted, Sammy got his moment at Mania, but my opinion, it could have been Chad. Should have been, but it not.
Chad is one of those guys that they should have put a singles title on him. I mean, they kind of typecast him as a tag team guy and they kind of treat him as such, and they really should put a singles title on him, but they They just won't for some reason. Like he's not even in the picture, and then when he's in the picture, you get these compelling matches that he loses.
Yeah. He's slowly starting into Natty Neidhart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Except she's got a couple of championships under her, a couple of singles titles under her belt.
Yeah.
Not the NWA. She lost last night.
Well,
Punched some fan in the crowd too.
That's because Gail Kim wasn't there to referee.
stop it. We know that's all it work.
All right, but John, do you think Benoit is underrated?
I don't think he's underrated. But I mean, that's, you can use that word or a different word in place of that, which is what I'm going to do. Is that he was underutilized. He's definitely not underrated. Underrated would more indicate that people are unaware of his skill. Everyone knew how good he was.
Yeah.
Whether they wanted to push him at a top level or not, that's a different story. And the thing, and this, again, this is typical of WWE. And if you can spot, of the old WWE, the Vince WWE, if you could spot it in advance, and if they had the due diligence to maintain it, someone can do something awesome. Say in a January, we'll use the real world example. Okay, January 2003, Chris Benoit had an amazing match with Kurt Angle at the Royal Rumble. And why was it so great? Watch it back. It is a great match, for sure. Watching it live for the very first time ever, tremendous match. But was it good because it's Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit? Or was it great because it came after the terrible Scott Steiner and Triple H match? No one knows, right? And Chris Benoit, he doesn't get pushed for an entire year. He's around, but he's not in the plans. But probably Vince saw that as like, I got my plans for the rest of the year, but when it comes time for next year's WrestleMania season, I've got a good story. And it's one hell of a story.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 year later, that's right, Royal Rumble 2004, Chris Benoit wins a title. And, she has that moment with Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania. No one saw that coming, but it's like they kind of rewrote history and said, it was kind of meant to be that way. And it's like, okay, sure. I said the same thing about Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn had a ridiculous, although it was one of my favorite matches ever, had a ridiculous match with Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania 30.
Yep.
30 something. 30, the one in Dallas.
37.
The one with Kevin Owens and Stone Cold. That one.
Yeah.
37.
And so he did a great job in that match. He played the fool. And he made Johnny Knoxville look like $1 million.
Oh, sorry, 38.
It was a great match. Where is he in about a year's time? Man, who the hell thought he would be almost toppling that tribal chief Roman Reigns in Montreal? Almost. But he would get pushed almost right to the main event spot, almost. And then give it another year. He is actually in, as part of a tag team, the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, and he wins the titles with his best friend.
Yep, they are the tag team that dethrone the Bloodline. Yep.
I hate it.
So anyway, underutilized. He was at one time. Underrated? No, he was not.
Right.
I agree. He definitely showed his ability. Everybody know what he was all about.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't underrated whatsoever. But, all right. I'm going to go with the Pegasus Man strap. What was your favorite match or moments of the man, Chris Benoit?
There are so many. There are so many great matches, but since the fellas here weren't big WCW guys, let me throw out some great WCW matches of Chris Benoit. I mentioned the funny one, of course, the very short Chris Benoit squash against the Giant at the Clash of the Champions. He would have a very good match of its quality, of its time, with Chris Jericho at the Fall Brawl '96. And he would have a bunch of matches with guys like Raven and Diamond Dallas Page. And I believe with the two of them at an Uncensored or Super Brawl, they had a 3-way dance for the U.S. title, I believe. And that's just one of those matches that, like, hey, Benoit, he's championship material. DDP, he was still climbing the ranks. He's very popular. He was still climbing the ranks there. And of course, Raven was the, I don't want to say internet favorite, but he was the underground favorite, I guess, fresh off ECW there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another famous match of his. Of course, the Best of 7 series with Booker T, going over a few pay-per-views. And of course, he'd have quite a few matches with Bret the Hitman Hart in late 1999. And
the best one was the Owen Hart tribute. That was the best one.
And he'd have two unique matches that should not be glossed over. He had a ladder match with Jeff Jarrett at Starrcade 99. I think it's supposed to be Scott Hall, but Jeff Jarrett was the sub, and Chris Benoit was the dom. And the very next month at Sold Out 2000, it was Chris Benoit and the IDM pod's favorite wrestler,
Yes,
Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious. I remember that.
Dummy.
Yeah, that match
There you go.
I remember to this day, man. And the crazy thing is, he wins the belt, and he leaves the next night.
Oh.
Dummy. Yeah.
Should have brought it next door. Should have brought it to
Nah.
WWE.
Brought it
That-
to
that-
WWE,
that's
throw it in
one-
the trash can.
That's one thing. Chris is very respectful of tradition and
Yeah.
and the belt, and he didn't want to tarnish something like that. He even told him, "Hey, don't put the belt on me. I'm leaving." And because they just felt like, "Hey, let's put the belt on. Maybe he'll think twice." He said, "No.
I'm
Regardless
leaving.
of what you do, I am gone." So they put the strap on him. He leaves the next night, and again, WCW with the greatest champion of all time, vacant, is back on TV.
I forgot what episode it was. I said, "Hey, John, can you name every single WWE champion?"
In 2000? No.
So you got it wrong. You forgot Vacant.
Yeah, Vacant.
Vacant had the title the whole time.
Vacant is an 18-time world champion.
Bacon is legendary. Bacon is
If rest in peace, Sid. But if I could ask him one of many questions you could probably ask him, it's like, who'd you enjoy wrestling, or do you think you had a better match with, Chris Benoit or Shawn Michaels?
Ooh, that would have been a really good match. Oh man.
Damn, then you just said we talk about dream matches, whatever, or how we forget about Shawn.
We did see that though.
I mean, it happened, sort of.
Well,
happened in two ways.
yeah.
I think they did have a singles match on the build-up to WrestleMania 20, and of course they had two triple threat matches.
This is true. All right, never mind. Disregard that. All right, crippled BDC. What's your favorite match or moment of Chris Benoit?
Jesus, might as well tell his whole government. What's his parking pass?
Hey,
You got the red temporary or the blue?
I'm gonna go real surface level. I knew that you guys were kind of going deep and going to actual matches and stuff like that. So I'm going to go real surface level with his biggest moment that I could recall, which was of course him winning the World Heavyweight Championship, and then his moment with Eddie Guerrero after Eddie won the WWE Championship. Because at that point you had two guys who I'm pretty sure everyone thought, oh well, they're good. They're both really good, but do you ever see these guys being the heavyweight champions of the world? Probably not. And not only did you get it, but you got it where they could both celebrate it at the same time on the same show. And I mean, their history alone made it compelling, but then just everything else about themselves as to whether they would really actually ever be world champion all drew into that moment.
Yeah, I have to agree because my favorite moment was him winning the title at WrestleMania 20 against Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And even before that match took place, you see Eddie, who's already the WWE champion at the time, he's in Chris Benoit's locker room trying to hype them all up, basically saying Eddie just basically talking shit. And I can't rephrase that. John might know it better than me, word for word, whatever, but he's like, you basically, I belong here. It's my time. Something like that. Something that general nature right there that hyped them all up. And then
He went out there and he did it.
he did it.
Yep.
And unfortunately, they really don't talk about it anymore. If you go through Triple H's and Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania careers, they don't talk about WrestleMania 20. But
Right.
I know, y'all know, the Pegasus Man was in attendance. We talked about this numerous times, and it was a damn good moment, especially for him, because, like I said, I was a Benoit fan back from WCW. From him to win that title at WrestleMania 20, there you go. That's the crowning achievement right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Platino, what about you?
I definitely got to agree with you with the WrestleMania moment, but a very a match that doesn't get talked about a lot because it was on a SmackDown. It was a tag team ladder match. It was him and I think he tagged with Kurt at the time, and they had like a TLC match on SmackDown.
Wasn't it like 4 teams?
Yeah, it
like
was
that?
14. Yeah,
I remember that.
I highly recommend you guys go back and watch it. I know it's not the type of match
Was
you
it
like
Kurt
to
or
watch.
was it Jericho he's partnered with?
It's one of those two. I can't remember. It was so long ago. I think it was like 04, 05. It was right after this. Yeah, it was right after this belt. So I think it was 05, 06. They brought back TLC basically like, I forget who it was, but that match for some reason it always caught my eye for a SmackDown to have that type of match with those guys, and the intensity that Kurt brought out. I mean, not Kurt, Chris. Whew. Jesus, man,
All right, so
he really is a part of the SmackDown 6.
So that was TLC 3. That was Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho taking on the Hardys, Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. May 24, 2001.
Yep.
That was 2001? I could have sworn it happened after this. Yep. Well, that right there, that match alone, that probably was set fire to him and had these guys looking like, oh, this guy can go.
Yeah, I might have to go. Just the names alone on that, I might have to go and have a look at that match after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. I think that was the main event of SmackDown at that point for that night, and they showed out and they made stars out of everybody even more so than they already were. And I think Jericho wasn't even the Universal Champion just yet. He would be later on that year.
Yeah, I say May. That was May, I said. Yeah, I believe Jericho so, won in like what, October, November, something like that.
Yeah, around November, December. So yeah, you got a bunch of world champions in there. Mm-hmm. You got the Hardys, both world champions. Edge and Christian, champions.
Yep.
Bubba. Devon just mid. Sorry.
Yeah,
Devon's not mid.
Devon.
He never made the world. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Devon, the lone guy, never be world champion out of that match. That's
he's black.
Because he could have. Don't start that shit.
His gums are black. Devon, TNA Legends Champion, Global Champion, whatever the name they gave that belt in TNA. So mute Dom. Good times, great memories here on the It Doesn't Matter podcast. A little levity during this very trying time of an episode.
Oh, man.
All right, well, if I could be serious for a moment.
No.
If I could be serious for a moment.
Oh, my God, John. Hit a fucking triple.
Why?
There you go. All right, so you guys don't know.
Lee, not why.
Yes, that's true. So you guys don't know my questions I have for you guys. You guys didn't want to know. You wanted me to bring it to you live on living color and camera.
Why would you want to spoil it for me?
All right,
pull it out. Oh,
pause. All right, well, all right. So we're gonna start with you, Platino. So, if Chris Benoit stayed in WCW, do you think his life and his career would be completely different?
Yeah. It would be completely different because they probably wouldn't have had him in the invasion. Well, he was hurt during the invasion, was he?
Yeah, he missed it.
Yeah, because they did push him to win the title twice. Granted, the second time he did beat Sid, but who knows where that trajectory would have went.
Mm-hmm.
WCW was just was a mudslide, just ready to go down. But maybe he could have saved it for another year or two. Unfortunately, whatever was going on backstage and in the financials wasn't going to save the whole WCW thing going on. Because between 99 and 2001, there was a lot of untapped talent, a lot of young talent that just they didn't get the time to really show them, like to really show them, because WCW is going downhill, unfortunately.
Do you think if he was in WCW, you think he'd still be with us today?
Nah, I think something would have. Wait, you mean if WCW is still around, or just
At that time, if he didn't jump ship, do you think Chris Benoit would still be alive today?
no? I think something still would have happened, unfortunately.
BDC, what about you?
Um, I'm gonna go reverse course. I say if he stays in WCW, WCW is still a train wreck. WCW still goes down the tube just like it did. I think Benoit ends up either coming to WWE later and maybe not getting as big of a push because he comes later, or he just ends up back in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He ends up in New Japan. I think he's still alive today
I didn't even think about
because
that.
he's not here in the States and he's not around. He's not around the influence, the things that conspiracy theorists will surmise are part of the reason why he's not here. I think he's still here if he's in New Japan.
Strap.
Wow.
Sorry, what was the question?
If Benoit was still in WCW, if he didn't jump ship, do you think his life and career would be completely different? And part two of that question would be if will he still be here today, modern day, present day?
Well, it's tough to say because I don't. Are they related? I mean, every little thing that happens in your life, it makes you who you are and creates the future that you will have. So there's. I mean, if you could change something, if you could change one aspect of his life or career, that would make a drastic change to how it all ended. You probably have to go back to Kevin Sullivan and say, "Don't you dare put Nancy, your wife, with Chris Benoit as part of an angle, as part of a blurring the lines angle." That is probably one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I never watched the butterfly effect, okay, but so I don't know what that term means. But him jumping ship to WWF has less than 1% chance of being anything meaningful to how his life ended, versus Kevin Sullivan booking Nancy Sullivan with Chris Benoit, probably having a more of a 90% chance of affecting his life the way it went down.
Dummy.
Dead. So Chris Benoit jumping ship to would he still be around if he stayed in WCW? I mean, WCW still would have gone out of business. I'm quite probably I would bet, and he would have been adopted into the WF system at a later time, probably just like Platino said, at a less prestigious manner. It's like we'll just take you in now. Maybe he'd maybe he'd be a big star in TNA. So who knows?
I forgot about that. TNA
Yeah,
was
well,
a star.
TNA at the start they were pushing the youngins, but he would have definitely been a glue piece if he had gone over there.
Yeah.
Damn. So Benoit and the Radicals jumped ship with
2000? Early 2000.
The early 2000s. Yep.
And TNA opened in what 2002.
Mm-hmm.
2000.
Yeah, but WCW closed in March of 2001, and there's just that. And TNA opened up June of 2002. So there's just a 1 year lull, and maybe he had a long contract. That's what happened. Whoever was in charge let the Radicals go of their contract. They were still signed,
Right.
So they would have been around to the end. And if they had those contracts with Turner, TNN, Turner Network Television, they'd probably. I don't know. Here's another question: would Chris Benoit accept the buyout? Would he be like DDP and Booker T and say, "You know what? I'd rather perform." In the case of Booker T, it worked out. became a Hall of Famer, became a legendary WWF performer. DDP, not so much.
He became
Bad gamble on DDP's part.
He became the stalker.
Stupid.
Yeah, so
One of the dumbest singles ever.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard thing to think about. Who knows what would happen if he, stayed with WCW? Yes, he went down with the sinking ship, but would he make the jump? I think so. I think he wouldn't. I'll wrestle my contract.
Yeah.
I think he would. I think he loved it that much. I think he would do that.
He wasn't the type to sit at home, even when he had the neck injury. Vince was convincing him, hey, no. Or I think Bruce said it, no, stay home. You go heal up, and we'll take you back when you're healed up. And he's like, are you serious? Like, I'm not going to get paid. Like, no, you're getting paid. Go home, come back, and you'll be better off. And you'll be a better asset to us, healthy than you are
Hurt.
being hurt, crippled, unfortunately.
Sound like the city of New London.
Huh.
City workers, they hurt people.
No, they hurt themselves. All right. So, unfortunately, June of 2007, Chris Benoit, he went off the rocker. He won too many diving headbutts and CTE and all the other unfortunate stuff took place. So, he murdered his wife, murdered his son, Daniel, and himself, of course.
Yeah.
But should WWE remember Chris Benoit? Like, forget that tragic night. Can you remember like all the stuff he did? Like I might even say Make-A-Wish. That was outside of the ring, but everything that he did physically in the ring, all the wrestling matches and whatnot, all the good classic storylines that he had. Like, can you separate the artist from the art? And I'm gonna start with BDC because you were getting pretty worked up last week when we were talking about it with the summary. So, what do you think? Can you separate the artist from the art? Is it right for WWE to erase Chris Benoit's history?
I don't think it's right for them to erase it per se, to just act like it didn't happen, it didn't exist. Unfortunately, society is such these days that people are quick to not separate the artist from the art. They see the person and they want to cancel everything about the person for every little thing they do wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that like Benoit didn't do anything like he was a jaywalker. No, he did some serious shit. But I think WWE at the time, they, and part of me believes that it's more ego driven than anything, because you had the whole tribute to Chris Benoit, and then next week you find out that he actually murdered Nancy and murdered Daniel and killed himself. Now all of a sudden Vince McMahon has to backtrack, and now he has to backtrack that whole episode because of what he found out, and he's like, well, I'm just going to wipe him away because it's like he embarrassed me. And it's like you do what you feel you have to do. I think with everything we found out since, as far as CTE and all this stuff like that we found out, that could have very much attributed, they could have used him as a cautionary tale. Don't wipe out what he's done, but just make sure that people know. It's like, this was Chris Benoit. Yes, he was a very gifted performer, but he took heavy bumps in the ring that he shouldn't have, and there was a cause and effect, and while we acknowledge the wrestler he was, we also don't condone his actions, and get out and let the world know. It's like, yeah, he was a great wrestler. He ended up being a shit human being for what ended up happening, but he was still a great wrestler. We have that with baseball right now. Where you can't separate the achievements from the guy, because the guy is not a great guy in real life, but he had achievements, and society can't separate them.
Who are you talking about in baseball?
Pete Rose.
I don't.
No,
Pete
No,
Rose.
no, you can't compare that.
Yeah,
that's too late.
Bad
we're talking,
comparison right there, man.
we're talking.
I
No,
thought you
no,
mentioned him.
no. And the reason why, and I'm not just talking him, but there's others too. They you can't separate, and it goes baseball. It goes beyond that too. We have R. Kelly, for example. We have, we have people that have done horrible things but it's like the question was, can we separate the artist from the art? And I'm giving you all the reasons why society can't. I don't I would love for them to use Benoit as a cautionary tale. I know it'll never happen. I just know it'll never happen because you can't, in this regard, you can't separate the artist from the art. You can't. There's just no way. I would love to see it. There's just no way. That's the answer. That's my long winding thing. That's the answer.
Well, Pete Rose, he'll be in the Hall of Fame next year. Since they reinstated him, he'll
They
be in
said
the Hall of Fame.
2028, unfortunately.
Whatever.
20,
He'll
it's
still be
2028.
in the Hall of Fame.
Shouldn't have to wait that long. Just put the damn man in.
Yeah, you gonna wait till the man died to finally reinstate him. Whatever.
Yeah, you and me have had discussions about that, Don. That's so disrespectful, in my opinion.
Look,
You were
Gamble.
putting him on.
here's
You were
the thing.
Yeah, you taking him off because he was gambling.
Look,
Are you
here-
freaking kidding me?
But again, that this is the problem we have. People can't separate the artist from the art, and the thing of it is he is who he is. He's all that stuff. But and the thing of it is you're punishing him for things he did as a manager, but he was still a player first, and he did all these things as a player. So, but the thing of it is as a manager, and then there was the accusations of him being with children, or being with a 16-year-old outside of all of that. So it's like
I
you
didn't hear
can't.
that.
I never heard that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
new
out
to me
there.
now.
But it's a case of you can't. Society has this problem where you can't separate the artist from the art. The day R. Kelly got arrested, there was so many people that I knew who was like, I can never listen to R. Kelly again. Okay, that's you. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, but that's kind of like the global thing. It's like when people get canceled. They want nothing to do with them, nothing whatsoever. Michael Jackson went through all of that too. The list goes on of people who have gotten canceled for something, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. And Benoit is going to be forever in that list because no matter what, we find out about him from the time from CTE on, they're never going to be able to put his history back and not have somebody bitch and moan about the fact that his history's back. Oh my God, he's a murderer. You shouldn't be glorifying him. You shouldn't be praising him. You shouldn't be lifting him up. That's just what it is. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be.
All right. So for Platino and Strap, can you separate the artist from the art? The art from the artist? Excuse me. Is it difficult?
It really depends on the situation and in the art itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult. This is murder suicide.
Yeah.
It's not like gambling. It's not like taking steroids or stealing signs or whatever other methods of sports entertainment that we know about that's
Mm-hmm.
influencing the game. This is outside, and it's very difficult. Do I consider Chris Benoit one of the greatest of all times? Yes, and that's my opinion and my opinion only. And if anyone disagrees with it, I'm okay with that because it's just
Yeah,
opinion.
you're not
It's not fact.
you're not the only one though. You're not the only one though.
But I also have to agree with you on that, BDC, where if you do put him in the hall, you are glorifying a murderer. There's been a history of abuse in there too, unfortunately, that's come to light
Mm-hmm.
that we didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Was CT a part of it? Yes. To what part or what end of it?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yep.
You really don't know. we're all buddies of ours, and God forbid, I know it's never gonna happen. Well, better not happen. Something like this happens, like John Lee. No way. This guy's the funniest guy around. There's no way that's possible. Best voice in radio, best podcast voice. There's no way. But behind that Solstice voice, the voice that gets you going, there's a dark side coming. The Pegasus. The wings have been clipped. And there is a dark horse underneath.
Why?
Look what you
Why?
did. You made him do the Joker. You sick freak.
Oh, Jesus.
Like that one, huh?
Jesus, indeed.
So, Strap, can you separate the artist from the art?
Yeah, I can. I mean, they're tied together. Obviously, you can't.
Right.
You just don't see Chris Benoit and totally forget. Oh yeah, by the way, the things that he's done.
Yeah.
You know, it also depends on your relationship with this celebrity. You have. I mean, I have a different. Obviously not a real one, but I have a different relationship with Chris Benoit as an entertainer in my life versus Cosby versus R. Kelly versus Michael Jackson, all Pete Rose, like I listened to a lot of Michael Jackson, still do. Okay,
Likewise.
R. Kelly, never listened to him, so it doesn't affect me, it doesn't bother me. Baseball, Pete Rose, don't watch baseball. I don't care what he does. Just because you don't care about who they are or what they do doesn't make their crimes any less significant. It's like, no, obviously what they did is still bad.
Right.
So it's circumstantial. It depends on who they are to you. Watching Chris Benoit from from the age of 11 to 23, your formative years as a teenager, to young adulthood, growing up. It's like it's someone you see on TV every day. You see him more than people you see in real life, aside from your classmates. So you just form different opinions. You just depending on who they are and what they mean to you. If I never saw R. Kelly again, that's fine. He did not have an effect on my life. Like I said, I did not grow up listening to him. Not hearing him doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
If I want to watch, if I just have this hankering, because sometimes you just want to watch matches with certain people. It's like, man, I just want to watch that Chris Benoit Kurt Angle match one more time. And how about that Chris Benoit and Brock Lesnar match on SmackDown? Because the TV ones are harder to find.
Yep.
So it's like, I want to check that out. It's like, why? Why would you want to watch that? That's like, I don't know. It's a great match. And Brock had the Brock lock on him, and he wouldn't tap out. And it's like you're just coming up with reasons of why you want to watch this match. I can't think of anyone who's like true, any entertainer or any figure. Well, actually,
I got one.
Well,
for you.
Just somewhat briefly, like I've been watching the series on Netflix about the Cold War, and I'll tell you what, man, do I hate Vladimir Putin. I mean, I never thought of him as a nice guy, okay, but watching this very long series, 9-10 episodes, 70 minutes each, and I'm watching because I'm learning history. This stuff I don't know. I don't know these things, and it is interesting to me. So I'm watching the history of the Cold War versus the United States and the entire globe, and they're doing parallels with the Ukraine war and how it's affecting America today, history repeating itself and things of that nature. And it's just, they're going through all the Soviet and Russian leaders over time, and it's kind of like, fuck this guy. I really don't. I'm like, I never wanted to be his friend, but I really don't like him now. Like, I really, really don't like him now. So could I erase Vladimir Putin from history? I sure could. and I don't want to watch him. But I can watch Chris Benoit matches. And believe you me, Vladimir Putin has probably killed way more people than Chris Benoit has. Dom, who is this person you mentioned?
I do recall our Hulk Hogan episode
Mm-hmm.
when you talked about him and
Yep.
how people basically, some people forgive him, some people can't, and then you
Right.
got into the whole Jay Briscoe thing about how he made one comment, next thing you know he got
Sure.
basically blackballed
Sure.
from
Yep.
some mainstream companies. So
that's a very good one because Chris Benoit, yes. I mean, can I still watch his matches? Sure, I can still watch his matches, and I can still enjoy them as matches. Now, how about Hulk Hogan? Yes, Hulk Hogan. Guess what? Still alive, still doing shit. What's the most recent news? Well, he had neck surgery. Well, hope you get better. That does not sound like fun. But the other bit of news is his Real American Beer Company, which I wish just went away. They're trying to acquire Hooters.
I did see that.
So it's kind of like, you know what? Stay away from Hooters, please. I do enjoy. I enjoy Hooters.
Not only that, but he's also trying to start up a shoot wrestling company.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
that
a
too.
freestyle
wrestling.
I don't.
Put butts in seats.
Yeah,
I don't.
That first suplex where land, absolutely land on your head. That should go really well.
I'd rather watch slap fighting. But can I watch a Hulk Hogan match now? Can I enjoy a Hulk Hogan match?
Yeah.
I can enjoy it because sometimes that's. I mean, I still have this nostalgia for it that I still like Hulk Hogan for no matter what. He's still done his stuff and because that whole go back in time, like kill baby Hitler. It's a baby. Don't kill the baby, but he's going to turn into Hitler, right? Yep. It's like, well, Hulk Hogan, when he was wrestling the Macho Man at WrestleMania 5, he wasn't officially racist yet, but so you can watch that match. Reading news about today, 2025, Hulk Hogan trying to start a real wrestling company. Hulk Hogan trying to buy Hooters. Hulk Hogan starting a beer company. Yo, fuck this guy. Go away. Yeah. We love what you did, man, back in the day. Great stuff.
Time to go retire.
Go the fuck away. You've been around too long.
Time to retire. Right.
You're not good anymore. We don't like you anymore.
Right.
I want to break up with you, Hulk Hogan. So
yeah, so this is mixed review for everybody. Me personally, I can separate the art from the artist because still to this day I'll still watch a Chris Benoit match, but I watch it through like another perspective because now I can see like them diving headbutts and just the way he crash and burn sometimes, or he's like skull to shoulder or skull to skull, whatever. You can definitely visualize it. Like you notice a lot more now knowing the fact that the circumstances. Like I'll still listen to R. Kelly music. Robert Kelly, he's a piece of shit, but I like R. Kelly music. I'll still listen to Diddy shit. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it is what it is. But that's just me separating the art from the artist because you're not gonna take away my childhood. Because if you take away my whole childhood, my whole damn childhood would be canceled right now. There would be no WWE, WWF, WCW. That should be canceled. Vince McMahon be gone.
Yep.
My music done. Michael Jackson done.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing I have left is 50 Cent clowning everybody. So you got to give me some type of entertainment. like seriously, like come on now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like the whole world's sensitive because which it is, but
wouldn't be a lie.
But come on, man, it just gambling, whatever. It is what it is. Slap on the wrist, but you murdered somebody, you happen to rape somebody. So, like I don't condone that whatsoever. But But I'm still gonna still follow what you did before then.
I got an example. We've all here watched The Bronx Tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, everybody loves that movie. That's a hood classic. And everybody likes Colangelo.
Yeah, Colangelo was involved, I think, in a robbery, murder, or something.
And nobody talks about that shit. He talks about it.
He talks about it. It messed up his whole acting career.
John, you seen that movie?
I have seen it, but just once. I haven't watched it repeatedly like I've watched other mobster movies.
I got it on DVD if you want to borrow it, buddy.
What don't you
It's
own?
a it's
on
a
the
classic.
PS3.
It's probably one of the best mob movies all time, in my opinion.
Dude, the
BBC, you
last
seen
year's
it?
Mission Impossible.
All right, so yeah, so
Yeah.
And she's still gorgeous to this day. Whew.
who the black chick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She fine.
Chaz
But
Palminteri.
it's a good movie.
It's a great movie, but like I said, I mean, look at him. He was a good artist on his way up, screwed up. Some people don't bring that up anymore, but it was part of his history, and it messed up his career. he could be one of the greats in our era if he hadn't screwed up,
Right.
with the wrong people.
Right.
It's not the same because he's still around, but
Yeah.
it's in a way it's similar because he had a promising career,
And a
This
crime
one-
took it away.
and a crime completely just got rid of everything that he
Yeah.
could have had.
Yep.
So that's the closest thing I can say to this day. And I see he's still doing tours and stuff, and trying to keep people in the right scenario. And I hope he continues to do that because he seems like he's a really nice guy. Unfortunately, we won't get that with Chris Benoit because
Yeah.
he has no tails to tell.
No. And there's this jarring image that has been stuck in my head for now literally decades. If you remember the SmackDown before everything went down, he was in a tournament match. I don't remember the title that he was in the tournament match for. I don't know if it was
ECW.
No. It was it the ECW championship match that it was in a tournament match for?
Yeah, because he was supposed to fight
CM Punk.
It was CM Punk or John Morrison, or John Morrison was a replacement at Night of Champions.
Yep.
So-
So it was CM Punk.
But I remember after the match was over, he leaves the ring, and I mean, he had been kind of taking some chest shots, so he's kind of like doing this on his chest, like doing like this, right? But he looks at the title, and he looks at the title very, very long and very, very hard. Almost like, and the thing of it was after everything happened, it was like kind of looking back at it, was like, was he looking at that like he knew he would never see it again? Was he looking at it like, like he knew something was about to go awry, and he just that whole moment just seemed really long and really hard? Because I mean, we've seen matches where people win a match, they're in a tournament for something like that, they go looking at a title, they're looking at it, they're raising their arm up, they're letting people know this is about to be my title. How he looked at it was different. It was not looking at it like I'm about to go win this thing. It looked at it like I might be saying goodbye to this thing. Like I may never see this again. Like I might never see any of this again. And it's been like a jarring image for me, because every time we talk about Chris Benoit and the things he done, that image always pops in my head of him looking at this title after this match, the final SmackDown before everything happened, and he just kind of looked at it like he wasn't sure if he was ever going to see it again.
I think the reason why he probably looked at it is because the last time he ever won a title like that, like a world championship, Eddie was around, so he didn't have his best friend right there.
Right,
to,
and like there was more emotion there than you would think it should be.
Yes, maybe he was thinking to himself like, the last time I had a moment like this,
Eddie was here,
and Eddie's not here, and I'm an emotional wreck, and I can't do this without him.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what he was thinking, and I'm not putting words in his head. We don't know what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Like I said.
But as I said, it's just that image has always been jarring because there was just a whole lot more emotion there than that actual segment actually called for in that moment.
You may have me watching that again. Just that moment.
Yeah.
You may have to have me check it out.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, final question for the night.
Mm-hmm.
We know he was a great wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
great worker in the ring, but we know tragedy struck.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What does Chris Benoit's legacy teach us about mental health and the pressures in professional wrestling and all the sports world? BDC.
First and foremost, you've got to take care of yourself, man. You've got to take care of yourself. Sometimes, as Jacob Fatu would say, all gas, no brakes. You know,
You hit that break every
yeah,
now and then.
you got to hit that break every now and then. You've got to do for yourself. You've got to take care of yourself. And things can go wrong, and you have to take care of yourself. Um, you know, we don't have an infinite amount of shots in the chamber when it comes to our health. The health is going to eventually go, and when it starts to go, you don't really get a chance to reset the deck on it.
Yeah.
So when you're healthy and you're doing things that could be endangering your health, you may want to think about that. I mean, I know we talk about Benoit, Brian Danielson was doing kind of the same thing, and he kind of shifted away from doing diving headbutts when he started to realize could be kind of jacking him up. And there's got to be you have to take care of yourself. I get it. Wrestling is entertainment. We're out here to entertain the fans and all that stuff like that. But there's other ways to entertain the fans than trying to destroy yourself every time you're in a match. And I think that would be the first thing I would say. You have to take care of yourself. You have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Longevity's sake, you have to take care of yourself. We've already had a case of way too many wrestlers dying in 90s and early 2000s. How many wrestlers died before the age of 50?
Yeah.
Because they were all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, you gotta, take a step, reevaluate, heal up, just take it easy. But then again, at that time, it was the roads were definitely much more gruesome. You couldn't really heal because you work wrestling 4 or 5 days a week and whatnot. A lot
Yeah.
of traveling, so it definitely played into that effect. And then my man lost his best friend. That definitely
Yeah.
played into that effect. And don't know how the home life was at the time, but that's still
Yeah. And
you still don't do what you do.
right.
They said his brain at the time, he had like the age of like a 90-year-old man with Alzheimer's. So
Yep.
Yeah.
That's scary.
And
it is scary. So
and trust and believe what John said has been ringing in my ears ever since he said it about if Chris had never been booked into a segment with Nancy to begin with, where might he be? That's been ringing in my head ever since he said it.
CTE.
That's been ringing in my head ever since he said it.
Yeah, you don't book. Oh, you gonna take my wife? Yeah, motherfucker, I'm gonna take your wife. That's basically what happens.
Mm-hmm.
When life imitates art, well, art
Or
imitates life.
imitates life. Yeah.
But you don't want to blame Kevin Sullivan for all that, because I just thought of something. I really just thought of it as BDC was mentioning it. Hey, you ever see that show Dahmer?
Oh man.
Oh Jesus.
That motherfucker was sick.
he was.
I was talking that documentary and
Yeah.
all that shit too. Oh man.
So what I'm getting at is the father, Jeffrey Dahmer's father. I mean, he was just trying to be. I mean, it was well played. That whoever that actor is, tremendous job, really.
That he does a lot of American Horror Story stuff.
He's
tremendous.
Great. He's great. So, but the father, he saw his son have an interest. And listen, not everyone is, picking flowers and daisies. Some people are just. Someone has to work at the grave. Someone has to work at the morgue. Someone has to be a real life undertaker. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this Jeffrey Dahmer, he gets an interest in, dead rodents, roadkill, or dissecting them and things like that. It's like, you need people like this in real life, And so he has an interest in it. So his father, according to the show, I didn't know any real documentary or stuff like that, but according to the show, he has a good father. He delves into this interest with his son, because that's what a good parent does. He tries to support his child in whatever they're interested in, because they're not interested in anything else. And so after it's all over, it's like, does Jeffrey Dahmer's father, do you blame him? for encouraging a part of the killer's behavior? You know, does Kevin? I know, joke, half jokingly, of course, Kevin Sullivan, if you didn't book your wife into this situation, then it wouldn't have led 10 years down the line to this happening. It's like, as you, Kevin Sullivan, who just died last year, I think, do you carry that in your heart? Do you carry that with you? It's like, and I think anyone would tell him, no. Like, realistically, like, no. It's like, that had nothing to do with it. People are their own people, and they're grown-ups to make decisions, and they live their own lives, and you guys were divorced for however many years, so, jokingly, yes, it's like, yeah, Kevin Sullivan, if you didn't book this to happen, but it's like, ultimately, realistically, no.
Police, this would have never happened.
Can't blame. Can't blame him.
Definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is he did what he did. Regardless of the circumstances that gets him there, he did what he did. And, that's where, like you said, mental health kind of comes in. Or I was saying awareness of it.
I'm sorry, go ahead, BDC.
I was about to say, or I would say an awareness of it. Because it seems like mental health is really, there's a higher awareness level of mental health these days than there was back in the early 2000s. It wasn't so it's not as taboo now as it was back then.
Seriously. Like I said, we don't condone his actions or
Not at all.
anybody else's actions, Aaron Hernandez, anybody like that with, CTE trauma, but you definitely got to take the time for yourself, definitely get checked out, go for a walk, go to the beach, sit by the water, something like that. Just, just talk to somebody. That's the main thing. Like,
right.
Everybody goes through their own issues. Granted, yes, we link up once a week online, but we don't know how everybody's living day to day. We don't know what everybody's going through. We might seem fine on camera right now doing what we're doing, but reach out to whoever. How you doing, buddy? Everything good? Your mental good? Just
yeah.
You need to talk. I'm here. That's it. That's the least thing you can do. Just you could literally save somebody off the ledge. Point blank.
Yeah, there was a post I put up on Instagram several years back, and I'm gonna read it because it has to do with suicide per se. And it was under the hashtag. This was 2022. It was under the hashtag of "Don't check in, stay in." And it says, if you're contemplating suicide, I'd rather listen to your situation than listen to your eulogy. And
spot on.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. I'd rather hear your pain today than read about it tomorrow.
Spot on. Well, Chris Benoit, he might not ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame, might not be in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, but we will acknowledge him on the It Doesn't Matter podcast. Chris Benoit, he was a one-time ECW champion with Dean Malenko, tag team champion with Dean Malenko. He was your IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He had the feud of the year in 2004 with Triple H. He had the match of the year, WrestleMania 20, Triple H and Shawn Michaels. He was wrestler of the year in 2004 and number one wrestler in PWI in 2004. So one day we might have to go back and relive Benoit 2004.
2004 was a hell of a year for him.
Yeah, in 2003 he was 69 out of 500.
That's a great number.
Yes, a real great number. One-time WCW champ, two-time WCW tag team champ with Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn, three-time television champion.
I thought it was a two-time.
Two-time tag champ in WCW.
I thought it was a two-time heavyweight champ, but I could be wrong.
Says one.
Okay.
One and done. One and done. Two-time United States champion. He's a seventh-time WCW Triple Crown winner. One-time WWF champ. One-time tag team champion with Kurt Angle. 3-time United States champion, 4-time Intercontinental champion with Chris Jericho, Edge twice, Royal Rumble winner, and Kurt Angle. I'd say Kurt Angle, yeah. So yeah, that's basically Chris Benoit, and he was the best technical wrestler in 94, 95, 2000, 2003, 2004.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Platino always talk about this guy's on his Mount Rushmore. But I want to hear this from Bobby Platino. My last question, and we will definitely close out. Platino, who's your Mount Rushmore of technical wrestlers?
Brett.
Yep.
William Regal.
Okay.
Jesus.
He ain't on there, but he was up to win.
He's the greatest. I got Kurt.
Mm-hmm.
And the crippler himself, Chris Benoit, the greatest technician of all time.
Mm-hmm.
With a number 5 sneaking in, Dom's favorite, Christian Cage.
All right, well, you just ruined that, but yeah,
I had to do it.
Christian, but Benoit's definitely on the Mount Rushmore technical wrestler. That's for sure.
Yes.
Him and Brett, 1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
and Kurt, 1, 2, and 3, right there. I don't care who you put for your 4th.
Fourth is interchangeable, but the top 3 is the top 3.
Yes. Strapple, he has something to say.
I don't think you like my list.
It is currently called the Bryan Danielson Technical Wrestler of the Year Award, which he has also won himself. Bryan Danielson has won the Bryan Danielson Technical Wrestler of the Year Award.
I'll put him.
So that's number 4.
There's
Daniel Bryan. Bryan Danielson.
But.
It used to be called the Ric Flair Award.
Woo!
But Danielson was under William Regal's tutelage. So William Regal, circle gets the square.
We're all George Washington's children somehow.
Your teeth are not woody.
Can't say so much further. Never mind. About to get canceled.
Well, this concludes our Chris Benoit episode, guys. I'm glad you guys joined. Glad to hear your thoughts on this. But next week, our final show in the month of May is Platino's Choice, and we are actually going to cover some AEW, Double or Nothing 2019.
Ooh.
I'm going to run through the card like I usually do. So here we go. In the opening match, we have SoCal Uncensored, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky. Where the hell he been at? I'm curious. Taking on the Strong Hearts, Seema, T-Hawk, and L. Lindemann. John, who the hell is L. Lindemann?
Got me.
All right.
I know Tomahawk TT, though.
This right here has to be the worst starting match I have ever heard of.
The undercard sound better than the pre-show card. Sound better than that. The pre-show was Adam Page winning the Casino Battle Royale, and then Kip Sabian versus Sammy Guevara.
Ooh.
Sammy Guevara.
Yeah. All right. Well, our next match we have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Nyla Rose, Kylie Ray, and Awesome Kong in a 4-way match.
Interesting.
And we got a tag match with the best friends, Chucky T, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta taking on Angelico and Jack Evans. Where the hell who's Angelico? That's the one with the hat?
No, that's...
They both had hats.
Yeah, they both had hats.
You know, the one with the Kango hat.
Jack Evans used to be the man, though, for sure.
And Ring of Honor.
I think that was Jack Evans.
Oh. Where the hell he at?
I don't know. I haven't heard his name in a long time, but
exactly.
He loved hanging out in Mexico, that's for sure.
Could be with CMLL or Triple A.
Oh, Lord. Here we go. Our next match is a 6-woman tag team match. John's going to laugh at me. We got Akira Shida, Riho, and Ryo Mizunami. However the fuck you say that last name. Taking on Aja Kong. She was on Nitro and on Monday Night Raw. And Emi Sakura and Yuka Sasaki.
Okay, you got good slow start, but you came up with a good cleanup.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
For our next match, I still want to do this on Wrestling That Made Us, but we're going to do it together next week. We have brother versus brother. Cody Rhodes taking on Dustin Rhodes.
This is
Mm.
really why I wanted to watch this.
Yes.
This is the main reason.
Can we just watch that match only?
Pretty much.
Seemed like a WCW show. Just watch the second half of the show, you know?
For purposes of time.
Right.
Our next match is a tag team match for the AAA World Tag Team Championship. We have the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson taking on the Lucha Bros of Ray Phoenix and Pentagon Jr.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a barn burner right there.
See, should start the second half.
And your main event is for
short.
the inaugural AEW World Heavyweight Championship. We have the demigod Chris Jericho taking on Kenny Omega
for the number one contendership.
Now that's for the title.
That's for the title?
Inaugural championship, yep.
I could have sworn the inaugural title was going to be Adam Page versus...
The winner faced Adam Page.
Oh, so he is the number one contender.
There you go.
What?
That's
because the title's not even on the line yet. They haven't even shown the belt yet.
That's it.
Maybe they do on this show.
Brett.
Oof. I'm looking
You're
at
adopted.
I'm looking at that Battle Royal card. Who the hell is Dustin Thomas?
Dustin Thomas.
Beats me.
Who's Sunny Days? We ain't talking about Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and Sunny.
Sunny Days? That's just not a Sunny Kiss?
That's probably Sunny Kiss.
That shit says Sunny Days.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Could be Sunny Kiss.
Who else?
Well, this is a pre-show. We're not covering that. I don't count.
No, I'm just curious.
Okay. Who else?
That's it. It was Dustin Thomas, MJF, Sunny Days, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa, Isaiah Cassidy, Jimmy Havoc, Joey Janela, Brian Pillman Jr., Sean Spears, Billy Gunn, Glacier, Jungle Boy, Mark Quinn, Ace Romero, Luchasaurus, Marco Stunt, Sunny Kiss, Tommy Dreamer, and Orange Cassidy and Adam Page. Adam Page was a Joker.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, where the hell is Luchasaurus at? He still hurt?
Yeah.
It's a big health problem, for real. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
so there is Sunny Kiss in there.
Heart, right?
Yeah.
Sunny
So,
Kiss, who the fuck is Sunny Days?
Sunny Days comes up. It says that he was also known as James Dillon, Dylan James, Dylan Page, Deadly White, and Steel City Brawler. The fuck is this?
Journeyman, I gather.
I don't know. Well, he got eliminated by Glacier.
Oh, he's some.
That's cold, yo.
Oh, this dude's a big dude too. He a big someone
Ace
other.
Romero. Dude
That's
looks like a
Fat Boy,
pancake
right?
that took up the whole pan.
Yeah, that dude's a big one. Yeah,
I know you're talking
5'7",
Well, that's next week's
275.
All right. Well, until then, I'm Notorious One. I am Dom. I'm here with the Pegasus Man. I'm here with Cripple BDC. I'm here with Poppy Platino.
I'm going to go take out that blue badge. I'm going to put it on my car so I can take that spot.
Damn you.
Wolverine.
Damn you.
And we will see you next week. Boom.